Alright, so you have your Xbox One. It seems like a well-built, sturdy system, but something is wrong. Whenever a disc is inserted, it either makes a loud crackling sound or makes no sound at all, or you simply get a disc playback error. If you have any of these issues, it's likely to do with a faulty Xbox One Blu-ray drive. In this video, I'm going to show you how to disassemble the system and replace the parts needed in order to fix your drive. First, you are going to need either a multi-purpose screwdriver with exchangeable tips, or a few very specific screwdrivers containing varying size Phillips, flathead, and Torx bits. Torx are the star-shaped shenanigan screws which are prone to stripping, so be sure to use the right size and be careful with them. You will also need a soldering gun, some solder, and some solder wool. And lastly, you can also use a solder pump, but I prefer the wool. And lastly, you're going to need your own replacement Blu-ray drive. You can fix your own drive, but the reality is it's better to buy a new one because even Microsoft has admitted to getting a bad shipment of drives. So it will only be a matter of time before you have to fix that same faulty component again. A new one will last a lot longer, trust me. Here I have a disassembled drive with the important bit, the Blu-ray's PCB, or printed circuit board. We'll get to why this is important later. Now, taking this Xbone apart is a pain. Typically, there would be screws on the underside like the older consoles, but this is the age of plastic, so it's a bit more complicated. Flip it up so you can see the side with the Xbone pairing button up top. For this part, a flathead screwdriver comes in handy. Starting with the side USB port, pry the plastic open. You will hear plastic cracking, but it isn't breaking. There are plastic pins all along the side you have to open, so carefully go around the edges. Next, simply slide out this little piece of plastic, which is the joint piece holding both sides together. Now comes the cringy part. This requires a lot of patience your first time, so be careful. There are more plastic hooks and pins all along the back you have to carefully undo. Try not to break anything, but a light crack here and there doesn't mean anything bad. I've taken this Xbone apart maybe 3 or 4 times, and it's held up pretty well. And even if you do get a little break, there are tons of little plastic clips inside, so one won't make a difference. From this point, very carefully pry the top off. This is of paramount importance that you take this next step with the utmost care. There is a ribbon cable connecting the front plate to the system. If that rips, you are SOL. Luckily, the ribbon cable is pretty strong, so just letting it hang will be okay, but it's not really recommended. Usually try to pry it up with something. With the edge propped up, take your trusty flathead and begin to pry open these plastic clips one by one. This may be a little tricky as they tend to fall back into place, so be sure to slowly pull the top off while you unclip them. An extra set of hands may be beneficial here. Once the top is off, try to keep the ribbon cable as close to the front as possible. Now, with its plastic armor off, the first thing you will need to do is unplug this wire from the Wi-Fi card. It looks similar to an RF cable with a single piece of metal in the middle. Just pull it off. Carefully flip it around and unplug the same wire from the front. You will also have to disconnect the sound wire as well from the speaker. Now this is where the Torx screwdriver comes in handy. Unscrew all the pieces connecting the shielding to the circuit board below. You will also have to unscrew the Wi-Fi card. The Wi-Fi board is actually connected to another piece underneath the shielding, so you just have to unplug it from the connector. Now you can take the shield off and look outside. Quick rundown. Here's the Blu-ray drive. This connects to the Wi-Fi. Here's the cooling fan, which is above the processor, and lastly we have the hard drive. Now your drive may look a little different. Models vary. Open the plastic hooks on each side and take out the wires in the back. Now look at the code on top of the Blu-ray drive. For safety purposes, when ordering a new drive, be sure to enter this code exactly into your search. And if you really want to play it safe, make sure to get the same year. However, I replaced my 2015 drive with a 2013 drive, and it worked fine, so it is up to your own discretion. Now, you may think that replacing the new drive with the old drive is enough. Well, it is and it isn't. If you do, you'll be able to play CDs, DVDs, and Blu-ray movies, but nothing else. In the PCB, there is a special code which only works with a corresponding Xbone, i.e., if you place a new PCB board in your Xbone, it won't know what to do, unless of course you flash it with your computer. I'm not going over that. So the idea is, take out your old PCB board in the broken drive and swap it into the new Blu-ray drive. First, open up both drives. I'll only show this once since the steps are the same, and I've already taken apart one. Just unscrew the corners and pull off the plate. Next, you will immediately see the PCB. Start by carefully opening the connectors to these ribbons. Then, if there are any screws, get them out of there. The only thing that should be holding your board are these black and red wires. Now do the same thing for the other drive. Once you do, there'll be time for soldering. This is basic soldering, so if you've never done it before, This is about as easy as it gets. Sorry, I didn't have my recording camera for this, so pictures will have to do. Heat up your soldering iron and ready your solder wool to suck up the solder. Once the tool is nice and hot, heat up the solder and pull the red and black wires away. Pull the PCB board from the original Xbone and put it in a safe place. Now repeat the process for the new drive. You can discard that PCB and the old Blu-ray drive now if you'd like. Now you will need to solder the old PCB to the new drive. The board should say R for red and B for black, so you don't mix them up. Simply apply some solder and within a few seconds it will hold. Be sure that the connection looks like this when you're done. Now with the original PCB fitted into the new drive, replace all the screws and ribbons. Then put the top back on. Notice there's only one way to configure it. Once it is screwed back on, get your Xbone. On your original drive, there may be some fabric. At the very least, tear off the bottom piece of fabric and use that as your base. You won't really need the sides or top, you can do whatever makes you feel happy. Once it's back in your bone, connect the wires in the back. Now getting the Wi-Fi card back in place can be a little tricky. Just hold the piece up and connect the top Wi-Fi card in between the shielding. Then connect these wires and begin screwing everything back into place. Once done, place the front outer piece and make it flush with the bottom. That should connect with the bottom pins. It is a lot easier to snap in than to take off, as you can see. Once the front piece clicks into place, then you can put the top piece on. The best way to do this is making sure the front piece connects with the top piece first, and then everything else will fall into place. Once that's done, slide that side piece in that connects the two pieces, and lastly, put the side grating on, making sure to snap it into place on all sides. Now plug it in, and let's test it out. I tried a movie first, and as you can see, it works fine. Now let's put in a game. After a lengthy install time, it seems to work. And as you can see, I have no idea how to play NBA. So yeah, and there you have it, a fixed Xbone. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know in the comments and I will for sure get back to you. Look forward for later in this month when I release the final part of the Sega Genesis breakdown and do a final recap. See you then guys.